Okay, this is the second defensive driving video. We're going to look today at positioning, with particular emphasis on right hand turns, but generally for turning, both approaching to turn right and emerging to turn right and left. I had said on the previous one that we'd look at a high visual horizon. We might leave that for a lesson or two. I think this perhaps could be more easily dealt with. This is a subject really, this is a video that's useful for learners. No reason why a learner couldn't take some notice of what's on here. Also for remedial, and maybe for advanced too. Some of these things might have been not taught, maybe. Certainly I wasn't taught them until I began to train as an instructor. So we're going to be looking at positioning for defensively on right turns and emerging for the most part. So got a car coming up behind me, and as soon as I have the opportunity we're going to move away. He's decided to pull up right behind me. That's okay. I'm approaching. I'm not going to give a lot of commentary again. I might just occasionally just give a little bit to fill in any gaps. I need to take the next turning on the left. And then after the large truck parked on the right, I'm planning to take the road on the right. Myself centrally here. Time to make the turn before the approaching gets near. Now we have an emerging situation coming up where I propose to go straight on. Now what often happens is a car will come from the left and cut across the corner, so it's a good idea just to come in a little carefully to make allowances for that kind of lunacy. It is clear both sides. If you've been driving very long, you'll have had somebody cut you up in a situation like that from the left. So the thing to do on a blind situation where you can't see very well as you're coming up to the junction is just to reduce the speed a little bit, to make allowances for those people that are in the habit of cutting the corner from the left here, for example, as I approach. So I'm going to go right here, mirror signal, and just bringing the speed off a little bit early to make allowances in case anybody's belting up, and there is a car coming on the left, so I'm stopping a little short till I know what he's doing. Good look both ways. We're safe to move out. Again, at the end of this road I'm planning to turn right. Visibility isn't particularly good here, so mirrors, signal, and just making allowances now a little slower in case anybody cuts across from my left hand side. And it's all looking good and clear. One coming down on the right. Safe to go. Two right turns. I propose to take the second mirror, moving out to the centre. Can't straddle the bump, so I'm slowing down a little more. And where the bollards are just ahead, I'm planning to turn right. Again, as before, I shan't mention all the times I'm using the mirrors, but we have a dedicated area here for turning. So I'll get myself in that and straighten the car up as much as I can and just follow that beamer into the turn. Tiptoeing carefully through here, lots of activity. There's a man behind the truck up ahead, one approaching. And I'm planning to take the next on the left opposite the large truck. I'm signalling good time. for a junction. It's the rear view mirror, of course. And at the end I'm going to take the left, just being mindful of these little lads. Mirrors. Approaching with care, lots of parked vehicles both sides, making sure before we emerge. That's fine. Mirror. Queue of cars down on the left, and then I'm coming to a T-junction where I propose to turn right. Frequently have cars cut across from the left here, so slowing a little bit earlier, making allowances for any nut jobs that come screaming across from my left, so I'm ready for it, and it's looking clear. One coming down on the left, just giving him a moment, and another, and here's my space. So that's the first thing. When emerging, just lose a little bit of speed if the vision's poor. Make allowances for those that cut across from the left. Taking the left at this junction. Tyres and tarmac, handbrake, neutral. Taking the gear now, checking all the mirrors, keeping those tyres in sight on the front. More space coming up, away we go. Now a little way further down we're going to make a right turn, a right approach that is, from a major to a minor, and I'll have something to say about the position here too. And there's a common mistake made on these kinds of turns, which hopefully we can eradicate. So I'm going to take the next turning on the right before the bus shelter on the right. So mirrors and signal. Now when waiting for oncoming traffic here, it's a good idea to keep your front wheels straight. Don't turn even slightly, because if you're sitting waiting there with a slight right turn on your wheels and you get shunted, you're going to go straight into oncoming traffic. So when you're waiting, keep the wheels straight. Don't begin to steer until it's time to make the turn, to complete the turn. Keep the wheels straight, and then if you should get shunted, you're going to go forward on your own side of the road and not head on into oncoming traffic. Just backing off the gas to make allowances for all these oncoming vehicles here. Road's bending, so I'm checking the mirror. Just being aware of that cyclist, wondering what he might do as I come around here. Right down the middle of the road. Mirror. There's nothing I can do here at the moment. I've got to make allowances for this young fella. Pedalling frantically. Might be better off in a higher gear. He wouldn't have to work so hard. Mirror. Just tiptoeing carefully through. Lots of people around, lots of vehicles. At the end of this road, I'm going to go left. It's one way here, so or at least it will be at the end. Traffic can't turn in from left or right here. It's limited to vehicles exiting, so there isn't the same concern about traffic that might come in on the left, from the left. I'm turning left. Early observation to the right, completely clear on my right, and lots of vehicles from ahead. Cyclist not a problem now. I can follow the white one. Plenty of space here. Some traffic lights down the hill when I'm planning to turn right. Turning right is fairly straightforward. At this particular junction there's a dedicated lane, so your position is pretty much dictated. And I am planning to turn right. behind me knows I'm going right. The arrows are marking it clearly. So I shan't put a signal on until it's time to move away. And brake neutral. Now we're going into reverse to moving away now for a signal. I'm going to take my time. Trying to keep the car moving if it's possible. There is a space behind the second vehicle here. Crawling along very slowly, gently on the gas. And there's my space and opportunity. I'm going to take the right again here. Lots of oncoming traffic. And I need to take the next on the right. So again, the advice here is keep the wheels straight if you have to stop and wait for oncoming. Now I'm not going to have to on this occasion. Just being mindful of the silver car on my right. She's keeping in position, so we're fine. So approaching to turn right. Never cross the centre line prematurely. Always wait till it's time to make the turn. And if you have to wait, keep your front wheel straight. I'm going to give way here. This woman's causing some obstruction. Not sure an examiner would have been happy with that kind of behaviour. She could have stayed back and waited. She made me slow down. She shouldn't have done. The one on the left mirror. This one's waiting. It's good. Head towards the centre. A little bit of safety. Parked on my side, so we give way. Hazard markings, junctions right and left. Then we can turn right at the end. Now on this particular junction the road bends on the left hand side. It's difficult to see around that bend, so be sure it's clear on the right. Just get over the line, have a good look before finishing the turn on. Give way sign ahead, I propose to turn left. Left at the give way. Good open junction here, so if I was going right there wouldn't be the same kind of concern about traffic coming from my left. A few moments we're going to come to a situation where there'll be some hatches in the centre just drawn for traffic turning right, and it's just a little way away yet. We'll discuss the best position for that when we get there. A junction ahead on the right, and we have some hatches in the centre and a right arrow. The idea of that is to protect traffic turning right. Now I'm going to take a fairly straight line into that area because there's nothing threatening on the right. By keeping in the centre area I'm allowing traffic behind to pass me on the left. I'm going to wait for the oncoming here, checking down the road I want, that's all safe. Got my wheels straight. Round we go. So those hatched areas where there's a right arrow in the middle, the purpose of that is to protect traffic turning right from vehicles coming up behind, and the idea is there that you get into that area so that following traffic can pass on the left. Sometimes on this particular junction, and I'm sure it's the same in many other, the vehicles are poking their nose out on the right and you can't get right into the safety area, in which case of course you've no choice but to slow down or even stop following traffic. You don't have any choice because otherwise you'll be blocking the road ahead. Taking a left turn here and we're heading back up to that junction. Now I'm on an industrial estate here. Anybody watching this from Birmingham will know that I'm just 2 minutes or less. Test centre, Gallows Green Test Centre is just around the corner. So the next interesting junction we're going to come to in a moment or two is one that learners will have to do. They will have to do if they're taking a test from space on my right. If it got any sense, which I think he has. He's reluctant to move over, but he's got in the end. Okay, so in a few moments we're going to come to a junction that you, as I say, if you're in Birmingham and you're taking a test at Goat's Green, you're going to get this next junction, and I'm sure there's many a fail here because it's a junction onto a busy road with big heavies coming in and out, and it does affect the position we take if we're turning right, which I'm going to demonstrate just now. It isn't this one, it's the one immediately following. So I'm going to go right at the end of here, mirror. All clear to go. So we're on an industrial estate, we're getting heavy vehicles coming in here from the right and the left. So it's advisable to keep about a metre away from the centre line here. That way you're allowing space for large vehicles to turn. And it's looking pretty clear on the right. In fact, it's looking very clear on the right. The learners don't very often get a gift like that coming out of here. So you're keeping a metre from the centre line there. It still leaves traffic behind room to turn left at that particular junction, but it leaves lorries coming in from the right and from the left, that bit of extra room, and it is defensive because you are minimising the risk of getting the front end of your car clipped. I'm going to go around and have a look at another look at those two junctions again, looking well up to the left here because there's lots of parked cars. On approaching mirror, he is giving way. Just thank you for that, thank you, Sarah. No reason why I shouldn't come well away from these parked vehicles. Here's one with the reversing lights on, but I'm well out of the way. I'm taking the next left in the 20 area. Signal for the vehicle on my right. If you don't always hear the indicator going, remember there's advanced teaching going on this video, and we don't always indicate if it isn't necessary. There's something else I might mention here. I'm going to go left, so I'm going to make a signal, but because of parked vehicles on the right, I've got time to go anyway. Sometimes if there's parked vehicles on the right, just by staying back a little you get a visual vision behind them. To take the right then, we've got a dedicated area for it here, so mirrors and signal. Oncoming cars not a problem. Cars in the road on the right are well positioned. In fact, they've thrown them out slightly, so I can't get as well in as I would like here. There's my opportunity to go. One of the cars pulling out there was a little far out and he was throwing out traffic coming towards me, so I couldn't take quite the position I would have liked. Obviously you don't hinder oncoming traffic there. I'll just repeat that this is a video for learners as well as remedial, and hopefully something of an advanced nature if you haven't thought about these things since you passed your test. Lots of heavy goods around here because it's an industrial estate. I'm coming out from the left ahead. Our friend pulling up here, or is he giving way for oncoming? He hasn't made it very clear. I'm just going to keep back and wait and see what develops. It looks as though he might be planning to go. Yes, he is. Taking the next left then. He's keeping me guessing, this man. I think he's going to reverse up here. Just give him a moment to sort himself out. It looks as though he's asking questions. So we're going left. Arsway Road, quite a bit of damage to the road surface around here. Lots of dust and grit on the road as well, which needs to be borne in mind of course when we're braking. Looking well through the parked vehicles, some activity to keep back out of trouble in case the oncoming vehicle weaves his way through. Well, the oncoming vehicle is now reversed in. Hopefully the van's going to leave us now. Mirrors, all three mirrors. Clear ahead, clear behind. Checking the mirror before the bend. Looking through the fence for oncoming vehicles on the left. Van is manned, but not a problem. Going right at the end. So no one following. I'm not going to signal just at the moment. May not be necessary. I am turning right here. And I'm going to take the right at the top again just to do that turning again, so keeping away from the centre, about a metre, mirror as a signal. So I'm leaving room, as I say, for lorries to swing wide from the right and to cut the corner from the left. Here's my space, so away we go. It's interesting, I do that turn a lot and learners rarely get it as a gift like that for me these last two times. It's rarely so clear. Side of the keep clear, I can wait for the crossing. I'm going to take the next road on the left, keeping the crossing clear. I'll have space on the far side, making a left signal, getting closer to the curb. Neutral. I'm having to wait, so it's handbrake and neutral. Pause has become a wait. Still hardly moving. Now it's beginning to move, so checking all three mirrors. I'm checking the mirrors, I'm looking for cyclists on the left and on the right. And be careful coming in here because there's parked cars on the right, so we've got to be mindful of approaching vehicles. It looks as though it's safe to get in. Behind has not made much of an allowance for it, but still she has leaking space just about. Got time to pass the VW before we have any conflict. Quickly moving out of the way, coming into a 20. The end of the road, I'm going to take a right. This is a one-way system here, there's a little bit of dual carriageway, so I can stay on the right. Lots of vehicles around there, they're blocking the road ahead, so I have a perfect opportunity to go here. I'm going to keep the speed down, give the van an opportunity. Another hazard that sometimes occurs is people parking too close to a junction, so we'll look at that next, what you can do about it. The golden rule is always be able to stop in the distance you can see to be clear. Go left at the mini roundabout, on your own side of the road that is, without any drama. That is to say, without skidding, swerving and so forth. Parked vehicles here, so looking down the inside, making sure it's safe before I commit around. Again, another place where learners from Gallows Green can get into trouble just there because they park right up to the roundabout. Very difficult to make the judgment. Highway code says you're to park 10 metres from a junction, about 30 feet, which is generally ignored. he's got 10 metres from the curb, maybe just about. Taking the right here, no one following, no one around. Lots of glass in the road, keeping away from that road, bending left mirror. So at the moment we're going to come to an emerge situation where I'm proposing to turn right, and there are almost always a string of cars parked on the right that makes it difficult to see. So I'm taking the next right. Just being careful of these little lads here, watching them carefully. Bumps along here, which really restricts me to about 20. You can sometimes accelerate a little between them, but generally can't be much over 20. Some of them are worse than others. So at the end of the road I'm going to turn right. There's every possibility from my experience that there'll be a lot of cars parked on the right, making it difficult to see up the main road. So mirror. So I'm going to slow early. It's not so bad today. Sometimes just by stopping back a little bit I can see behind the blue car when approaching from the left. If I go forward too far, sometimes the part there on the right will obscure the view. Now I can see that that's clear. So around we go. In a moment or two I'm coming to a set of traffic lights where I plan to turn right. And there are hatch markings in the centre, and they are designed to protect the traffic that's turning right at the lights. Now what a lot of drivers will do is they'll stay off them and then turn fairly sharply where they end. But if there's no one pressing from behind, there's no reason why we shouldn't move onto those hatches a little earlier, like now. It's more of a straight line, more of a stable line, and we're in position in good time to turn right. And I'm putting my signal because there's only one arrow I can see here. So the hatches behind me are to protect people like me who are turning right from following traffic, and to keep following traffic over on the left if they're proposing to go straight. But as long as there's no one threatening to overtake me, there's no reason why we shouldn't move in a little bit earlier and take a more straight line on the approach. The car is at its most stable when it's travelling in a straight line at a consistent and steady speed. So the less steering you have to do, the more stable the car is. I've cleared both sides here. Be mindful that there might be somebody coming around between all these vehicles, so just keeping the speed up a little, and there he is, the very person I spoke of. Taking the next on the right. Keeping the wheel straight until it's time to turn in. This is one of the most confusing junctions I know of here. It's a roundabout coupled with giveways. It's really strange. We're going to go right at the roundabout. Doesn't help that the road markings are not very clear either. It's also the biggest roundabout I know of. It's huge, but quiet, which is probably a good thing. Just after the glass lorry on the left, the glass van on the left, we have some lights where I'm proposing to turn right. Just watching the man in the road here, giving him lots of space. I'm going right at the traffic lights. Cooper, giving me a bit of confusion. So we're coming back to the junction at the lights again. We'll have another look at the hatch markings. Now if the hatch markings are bordered with a broken line, you can go on them if it's safe and if it's necessary. Now I would say it's necessary if I'm turning right. You have to make sure it's safe. There's nobody pressing behind me, nobody trying to overtake. So I'm going to put my signal on now and just shave off those lines a bit earlier. Save me turning sharply when they finish. If the lines are solid, as on, if you look ahead, the hatch markings up there have got a broken border, but if they were a solid border, you don't go on unless it's an emergency. It's illegal to go on there, except it's an emergency, such as to avoid an accident, obviously. But it is permissible if the border is broken, if it's safe and if it's necessary. Two motorcycles behind me, just watching them for a moment. You need to be extra cautious if they're small motorbikes, because they are allowed, I'm not quite sure what the CC is, but some of the smaller ones can use a motorbike without passing a test. They have often got L plates on. The two behind me haven't, so presumably they've taken a test, and if they haven't taken a test, they've got L plates on. Treat them with great caution, because they do all sorts of crazy stuff. Stand corrected on that. If anybody out there in YouTube land knows better, leave a comment. Looking down the inside of the white van, I can see it's clear to keep going. Making allowances, I can see through the hedge, but that's going to get more difficult. Making allowances for the corner cutters from the left. Edge forward slightly to get a better view to the right. So I'm not in the way here. I could see right, I could see left. Queuing traffic might mean they'll give way for me. I can move out, being very careful about oncoming from the left here. Very careful indeed. At the top of the hill here, I'm going to be emerging into a very busy junction. It's a very busy main road. I'm proposing to turn left. And very often here, visibility is seriously restricted on the right. I'm not sure what it'll be like today. So I'm in a 20 at the moment, heading for a 30 up to the main road, where I plan to go left. Now sometimes, to get a view of the traffic, you can use shop windows or anything that gives a good reflection. At this particular junction, there's a bus shelter on the right, which is very useful. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but I can see in that bus shelter on the far side that there's nothing coming. Sometimes you can use the sides of a car if it's kept clean. Sometimes you can use a shop window. Just go and have another look at that. Hazard markings down the centre here, presumably because it's a very long straight road and would be popular with boy racers, which is also why they've no doubt put in the humps here. The next road along, which we're going to go down to in a moment, has got some of the biggest humps I've ever come across, and you have to be down to 10 miles an hour to avoid banging your head on the ceiling. This is a price we pay, of course, for having boy racers among us. Still got hazard lines. In fact, all the way to the top of the hill we have hazard lines here. No doubt, as I say, because it's a long straight road. But these humps will have rained on the parade, no doubt, of the racer boys. I'll have to go and look for somewhere else to burn rubber. Actually, it's just a left curve at the top with a junction on the right, so I have priority here. But never assume it. It's always good to be cautious. Somebody might just come across from the left. It is safe. Give way for the van just to defuse the situation. Handbrake. Taking the left. So this is the road where about the worst humps I've ever come across. They alternate between separate humps and the ones that run right across the road. Of course, these separate humps you can straddle, but these big ones are ridiculous. And it has to come right down to 10 miles an hour. I got a sense of the size of that from the camera, I don't know. So we can straddle that one, but the next one we've got to be very slow. Just watching the vehicle on the right there with his lights on. They alternate between humps you can straddle and humps you can't. Hazard markings again all down the centre because it's a long straight road. I'm going to take the left turn again on the main road. I don't know whether the bus shelter will show in the camera, I hope so, but that's what I'm going to be looking at before I pull out to the left. I have found in the past that it gives me quite a good view of the road down on the left beyond the parked cars. So turning left, mirrors and signal. Sunlight a little bit of a problem, but I can see in the bus shelter, and I can see a car coming in the bus shelter as he's now passing, and another, and another. Bus shelter's about 75 metres away from me on the opposite side. I can still see the vehicles coming in that shelter, but I can't see them otherwise. It's just possible I might be allowed out here. Thank you, sir. Give you away, thank you very much. A bit of courtesy goes a long way. Great believer in courtesy on the road, as are the examiners, of course, for L tests, and no doubt for other advanced tests. You might just brighten somebody's day a little bit by saying thank you, by giving way. Enough bad temper on the road without adding to it. turning on the right. There's the signal. The road's clear ahead. So once the speed is right, we can make the turn here, keeping the wheel straight till it's time to turn, and round we go. So there it is, that's the second defensive driving video. Positioning for turning right in the main, but also how to deal a little bit safely with emerging situations, and making use where you can of reflections. Just use a bus stop. You can use, of course, shop windows if there happen to be shop windows there, or windows at houses. And what also I've found very useful sometimes is car doors. But that needs a bit of carefulness really. Car doors can be a bit more risky, but if the cars are clean, it can be very useful. So that's it for this one. Hope you come again to the next video.